Have you ever stopped to wonder, who are you, really? Do you exist the way you think you do? Or could it be that everything, your thoughts, your memories, your emotions, are just fragments of something you barely understand? Our sense of identity, what we call the self, is it solid? Or just a fleeting construction, a temporary illusion? Today, I invite you on a deep journey, a reflection that will challenge everything you believe about yourself and the world around you. We're going to explore the mystery of existence, a psychological condition known as dissociative identity disorder, and we'll turn to the wisdom of great philosophers, Descartes, Hume, and Schopenhauer, to help us answer a question that has haunted humanity for centuries. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Do I truly exist? Schopenhauer teaches us that the world we live in and perceive is not reality itself, but a representation created by our minds. He said, Die Welt ist meine Vorstellung, which means the world is my representation. Everything you see, hear, feel, and think is filtered through your consciousness. But what happens when consciousness becomes fragmented, confused, or even dissociated from itself? What remains of your existence? For Schopenhauer, what truly drives the world and ourselves is not reason or consciousness, but the will, a blind, irrational, and relentless force behind all our desires, impulses, and suffering. Narrator: the will doesn't think, analyze, or question. It only wants, demands, and consumes. This will is like an eternal fire. It pushes us to chase what we lack, to seek pleasure, success, love, validation. But the moment we get something, the will immediately shifts its desire to something else. It's a never-ending cycle. And that cycle is the root of suffering, because we're always restless, always unsatisfied. Schopenhauer saw the will as humanity's true prison. It turns us into puppets, driven by our cravings. Have you ever felt empty even after getting something you deeply wanted? Ever felt like, this still isn't enough? That's the will at work. It doesn't let us rest, because rest is the silence of the will, and it fears silence. Schopenhauer believed true freedom doesn't come from achieving more, but from wanting less, from recognizing this force within and gradually resisting it. Now think about the self you believe you are. The sense of continuity between who you were yesterday, who you are today, and who you'll be tomorrow. Schopenhauer urges us to question that self. He didn't see it as a solid, unchanging essence, but as an illusion, a narrative our mind creates to make sense of life. In truth, we are simply the will expressing itself in individual form. Our identity is just a surface-level arrangement of this blind, irrational force. But that illusion can break, and when it breaks, it reveals something terrifying. Dissociative identity disorder, for example, shows just how fragile the line between self and non-self really is. People with this condition often feel detached from their own bodies, like spectators of their lives. In severe cases, multiple identities appear, each with distinct memories, behaviors, and even voices. Though Schopenhauer didn't know modern psychology, his philosophy anticipates this fragility. He understood that what we call the self is a thin veil over something much more chaotic. He saw consciousness as foam atop a wave, fleeting, deceptive, and carried by the invisible current of the will. So if the self is just a temporary structure built from habits, memories, and internal stories, what happens when that structure collapses? What remains when you no longer believe in your own continuity? Extreme dissociation, then, might be the tragic revelation of a truth Schopenhauer always knew. There is no solid I waiting deep within us. What exists is the chaos of the will, screaming for meaning, trapped in a body trying to organize its pain into something coherent. Schopenhauer forces us to confront this. What if everything you believe you are is just a defense mechanism, protecting you from the abyss behind your awareness? He offers no comforting lies. He gives us a cracked mirror. And in that broken reflection, we begin, perhaps, to grasp what it really means to exist. Schopenhauer shows us that the self we think we are, the one who feels, thinks, and experiences, is not stable or immortal. It's a functional illusion, a temporary construct rising from the unstable foundation of the will. That will, as we've seen, is irrational and insatiable. It pushes us through endless cycles of wanting, disappointment, and suffering. And the self? Just a mask, useful for navigating the world, but empty at its core. In dissociation, that mask falls away. The mind, due to trauma, emotional overload, or deep inner conflict, loses its grip on maintaining identity. It's as if consciousness slips through your fingers, revealing a void where there used to be a sense of self. This rupture shows us what Schopenhauer always insisted on, that the I is fiction, and behind that fiction lies pain. We suffer because we want to be something fixed, stable, but we are instability itself. The dissociated person is not only in psychological crisis, they are living, in raw form, the metaphysical collapse of the subject. They are confronting, in brutal reality, what philosophy often only dances around in theory. Schopenhauer said, "Suffering is not an accident of life. It is life. To desire is to suffer, and as long as the will moves, suffering follows." Dissociation shows this physically. When the I can no longer hold together, we must face pain without a mask, without the cushion of identity. But in this moment, there's also a key. Schopenhauer believed that recognizing the will's tyranny is the first step toward freedom. Not through logic or religion, but through negation of the will, through detachment, through aesthetic contemplation or deep compassion. Moments when the I dissolves voluntarily, not traumatically. So when the mind breaks and the self crumbles, maybe we're not only breaking, maybe we're seeing clearly, for the first time, that we are not in control, but puppets of a force deeper than thought. And in that clarity, painful as it is, a new form of awareness may be born, one that doesn't seek to rebuild the ego with comforting lies, but accepts the void, and maybe, just maybe, finds peace within it. Now comes the darkest and most liberating truth. Only by accepting the void, impermanence, and illusion of the self can we truly begin to break free. Schopenhauer, unlike philosophers who try to glorify reason or offer consolation, stares directly into the abyss. For him, the will, the blind force behind everything, is the real prison. And the self, so praised by modern culture, is nothing more than a shadow cast by this restless flame. Suffering, then, is not a glitch. It's the price of existing while desiring. But Schopenhauer doesn't stop at despair. He offers a path, not through hope or belief, but through a lucid form of nihilism. Freedom comes from denying the will, not giving up on life, but rising above the compulsive cycle of craving and attachment. Accepting the nothingness behind the self is the first step. Recognizing that everything we think we are is impermanent and often false opens a new way of being, one where we stop trying to fill the void with lies. Schopenhauer saw in art, compassion, and asceticism brief escapes from the will's tyranny. In aesthetic contemplation, we lose the desiring ego and become pure perception. There, we can glimpse a deeper truth, that beyond constant craving, something stillness-like exists. Dissociation from this angle is not just a failure, it's a revelation, a raw experience that tears away illusion. The pain of not recognizing oneself might be the chance to live beyond the need to be someone at all. True freedom for Schopenhauer isn't freedom within the ego, but freedom from it. It is the absence of compulsion, the silence of the will. And in that silence, something new may arise. A lucid life, stripped of illusions, touched by sadness, but free. So when the self dissolves and the void appears, don't fear it. The void is not the end. It's the beginning of a mind that no longer needs illusion to keep going. If this video stirred something inside you, subscribe for more dives into the shadows of the mind and the depths of existence through the lens of raw, fearless philosophy. See you in the next descent into the abyss.